Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming a Miniature video. Well, this is going to be part of my Ancients project update. I started it off as an SPQR project, but I've kind of morphed it into also a Hail Caesar update. I find myself putting together models for SPQR, and I'm mounting them on 1-inch round bases. But because let's say I'll get a box of Romans and I will put them together and I will mount them all on 1-inch bases, and I think to myself, if I had a way to put those on a movement tray, I could have mass battles and still play a good game, Hail Caesar. And that way I don't have to sacrifice Hail Caesar just to play SPQR, and vice versa. I don't have to sacrifice. What I'm trying to say is I found a way where I can build up forces for Hail Caesar and use them in SPQR and vice versa. Okay, so you might or might not be able to see this. Grab one of these. This is one of my Macedonians bases, and I have these Macedonians. This is just an example, but I have them mounted on metal washers. As you know, all my SPQR figures are mounted on 1-inch washers, except for cavalry and these Greeks. But other than that, they're all mounted on 1-inch washers. And I figured, since they're metal washers already, I could get some magnets. Okay, so I went to Litco Aero. I ordered some 2x3 magnets, as well as some of their 2x3 bases, and the magnets just have a peel off back. You just peel them and stick them. So this right here is a movement base with my figures mounted to the magnet. Just plop them on there, put them on, just squeeze them in there, get them in there. Now I've got them in here by 2x3 ranks. And this can be a base in Hail Caesar. And then when I'm ready to play them as SPQR, I just pull them off the base. I thought that was awesome. I've got some mounted on 1x3s, so if I needed 3 ranks, I can just use this as my 3rd rank, a 1x3. Or if you want to go crazy, you can just put 2 of the 2x3s back to back, and then you can have 4 ranks, three figures wide. Romans, same thing. My barbarians, same thing. Now my Greeks, because I had them mounted on the bolt action round bases, right? They came with those plastic round bases. Instead of, the way to figure that out is Litco also sells these 1-inch discs that are magnetic. Not magnetic, they're metallic. So it's actually a metallic vinyl, which is very weird. It's flexible. So you just peel the backing off, and I stuck it on the bottom of my bolt action model. And now my Greeks are also magnetic. Now I don't need to have, let me back up. I don't need to have too many of these magnetic bases, because if I'm not playing the Greek army, I can pull them off and put them on my Roman army. And if I'm not playing the Roman army, I can pull them off and put them on my Macedonians or my barbarians or whatever. So I have about 50 of them, and that should translate to 2 armies, really, right? If not, I can get some more. So that's something I've been doing, is trying to figure out if I wanted to go with these square bases, which are also magnetic, a lot like the way the bases are in the book, right? They show 2 by 2 ranks on some of the Roman bases. But because I'm putting my phalanxes and warbands on 3-inch bases, when they form up, there's going to be a 6-inch front, or 6-figure front. To get 6 figures, because you want the frontages to be the same, I would need 3 2-inch bases. All right, that would be the frontage. And that would be fine, because when you go to column or march column, you can just line them up. And then when you go to line, you just put them beside. Okay, so I brought the book out just to make sure I was reading this right. To form a battle line, right, you just line them up, right? A battle line. Yeah, a standard battle line of infantry and cavalry is represented in the game by a unit arranged into 2 ranks of troops. This represents a real troop of 4 to 6 men deep. So that would be what the Romans are, right? So you would have 2 ranks deep, and then as long as you need, which in this case, if I go with the same as my phalanx and my warbands, it would be 6 figures across. So I could use 3 2-inch bases for my Romans. And when I switch them to column, an infantry column must be between 2 and 4 models wide and must have more ranks than files. Okay, so when I switch them from lengthwise, I could switch them to depth and go for the 2 to 4 figures. And the same with the warbands. You just put them in the back and they'll have 3 wide. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so I'm going to be able to do the Romans with 12 figures as a unit. And I'm going to be able to do the pike phalanxes with 18 figures. And then the warbands with 24 figures. So that's pretty awesome. Okay. Now the reason why I say that is that's a few figures less than when I did my armies in the past. If you watched any of my previous videos, you would have seen me do a Roman and a German army. I painted a couple 100, 300 Germans, and I painted a couple 100 Romans. But I didn't get as many units, okay, because I think I only had like 6 units because of barbarians, because they were giant, they were massive, they were like 36 models or something like that per unit. So I only had like 6 of them, and the plus skirmishers and the other fanatics and stuff like that. But then the Romans, I had 10 units. But they were of 16, I think. So there's 160 models. If they were only 12, I would have had 10 units, right? No, I would have had more. I don't know. I don't know wherever the math is. So what I'm trying to say is I can go a little bit further. And one of the reasons why I'm going with less models, okay, here's here's another thing. I don't necessarily want to go with less models, but I have to go with less models because a normal Hail Caesar Roman block would be 40 millimeters across, right? 40 by 40. And when I start putting the 1-inch bases on the models for SPQR, they are not going to fit on a 40 by 40. I thought about putting these models on 20 millimeter metal washers, and that way they would have the ability to fit on a 40 by 40, but then they don't look good and they don't feel good in SPQR. So what I did was I went with bigger movement trays, 2 inches by 2 inches, which is 50 millimeters. It's actually a little bit larger. It's a 52 millimeters or something like that. And then these guys are 50 millimeters by set, and these are like 75 millimeters. Okay, so, or they'd be the same. You know, what I'm trying to say is when you put 3 of those, you get 6 inches. When you put 3 of the 40 millimeters, you only get like 4 inches. So there's actually by putting them on 1-inch bases, you really make the unit bigger with less figures. So, I mean, with the same number of figures, it would just be massive. So I've trimmed some figures off to bring the scale of the bases closer to the original intent. The reason why I did that was because, you know, you want to be able to play on the battlefield. You want to be able to move. You want to be able to rearrange. And now you want to have them similar, right? So I'm just basing everything on 25 millimeter 1-inch individuals, the same number of individuals or whatever. And that way for SPQR, and then putting them on magnetic bases in a nice 2x3. I mean, I could do 2x3 with the Romans as well, or I could do 3 2-inch bases, and that way they can get a narrower column if I wanted to do that. I mean, I can put all these on 2x2s, but I figured since they're mostly in pike phalanx or warband formation anyway, there's no need. I mean, if I could have made like a 3x4 base, a giant base, I probably would have done that, like I did my barbarians in the past. But there's no need. This is going to work just fine. Now I'm thinking I'm going to, instead of leaving it black, which is fine, and it's kind of a matte color, it's not super shiny, I figured I was going to spray it green or something like that, so that when it's under these green flocked bases, it'll be more disguised. I mean, I experimented a little bit with my medievals, and I might even do that with my medievals as well, because guess what? They're all on washers as well. Cavalry. These 2x2s, perfect for cavalry. Like these are my Macedonian companion cavalry. They were on Warlord Games pill bases, which are those plastic bases. But look at that. They are, I got some pill magnets. Actually, the pill, this is a magnet. The pill, what do they call them? Flex steel. You know, come like that, peel off the back, stick them on. No problem. Okay, so this is going on a little bit longer than I expected. I've got a ton of SPQR / Hail Caesar. We're just going to call it, I'm going to change the name to an Ancients Update. Because SPQR only needs a handful of models per army, I am going to get every army. Almost. Maybe not every army. But I've already got Athenians, Thebians, which can work as Greeks, Macedonians, Germans, Celts, Gaelic, Romans, Caesarian Romans, not the Imperial Romans. I've even got a couple of boxes here of Dacians. I've ordered some mercenaries, some like peltists and archers and Numidians and Balearic slingers, and I've ordered a lot of that stuff for SPQR. I've ordered some of the other Macedonian units, the Thurophoroi, and also what's the other one? The Thorakitai. Okay, now, because of that, you're going to see a lot of videos where I review the products. Like these are still shrink wrapped. I'm going to open them up. I'm going to review them. I built a Mediterranean villa from Sarissa. That's on video. A lot of this is not on video because it's previously I put a video out where I did those for Hail Caesar. But I did the elephant. I did the companion cavalry. Since I had a whole bunch of Macedonian pikemen when I bought the successor starter army like 2 years ago and never went ahead and finished them because I was working on Romans and Germans, I said, you know what? I'm just going to put them together and make an army out of it. So when I did that, it kind of prompted me to, and because I've got a little bit of everything else, not up here yet, like this is Germans, these are Gaelic, Macedonians, Greek, Romans, and I have others on order. I said, you know what? Because I don't need as many figures, because the base sizes are a little bit larger and so the figure count is smaller, why don't I just redo all my armies? Or let me get at least the Romans and the Germans and the Celts and the Macedonians and the Greeks. So I'm planning on building all those armies to Hail Caesar standards. When I say Hail Caesar standards, I'm talking about 3 divisions of each of the armies. Wow. Okay. So I have this Caesar, the War of Caesar, the armies of the Caesar. It's basically the Hail Caesar campaign book of Caesar, his battles directly. And his army has 3 divisions of 5 legion units, cav and skirmishers. So, or cav and a ballista, or skirmishers and elite units or something. So, but there's 3 divisions of about 7 units each. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put them all together. I'm going to make that army strong. I'm going to do it. And then who's he fighting? Well, he's fighting the Germans and the Gauls and the Britons, right? So luckily, those units can almost be interchanged with each other, because the Germans and the Gaul figures are almost exactly the same. There's very, very little change. So I'm good, and the Brits too. The British Celts, the Gallic, and the Germanics all use the same figures. They just have some head differences, and they have some like this comes with a few metal torsos with furs on them, and these guys come with a different type of shield than these guys. But other than that, they're pretty much the same. So I thought about building those 3 armies for SPQR, or basically making 1 division of each of these and then I will have my 3 divisions that I need for most of the battles. The divisions of the barbarians are 5-unit divisions. The units also have the most number of figures. So there's going to be a lot of Germans. Like right now I've got 2. I need 3 more, and then I'll have my German division. I've got 2. I need 3 more, and I'll have my Gaelic, and then my Britons I haven't even started yet. Okay, so there's some archers there. There's some naked fanatics there. Okay, so here we go. Let's say about what you're going to see in the future. So I put an order in at Warlord. Put 2 orders in at Warlord. I didn't order a whole lot of figures. I ordered some paint, some SPQR boxes. SPQR boxes come with about half of what you need to make a unit. So if they're not the most cost-effective way to build a unit. Plastic is cheaper than resin, than metal. And there's a resin. So I've been wanting to get a bunch of Victrix models. So I went to Victrix April 6th, something like this, April 7th. I put a huge order. Huge. $200, something like that. That's not huge. But but I put a pretty sizable order in. I'm going to get Hypaspis for my Macedonians and some decals. Okay. And then also I was going to get a bunch of Greeks. So my Thebians, my Athenians, my Peltists and archers, and a ton of Greeks, which has nothing to do with the campaign that I'm talking about down here. But that's okay, because that's going to let me fill out these armies, mainly for SPQR, but also for Hail Caesar. So it's gonna be awesome. Okay, and then, so that was that first order. Been waiting. They shipped it on April 30th. Okay, now I understand there's a global pandemic going on, and I really appreciate your guys' support. I'm doing okay. I'm healthy, and I hope all of you out there are healthy as well. And I understand that a bunch of shops were closed, and you weren't able to fulfill orders and stuff like that. I get it. Okay, so I'm just stating a fact. I put the order in on the 6th. It shipped on the 30th. So that's like 3 weeks. Okay, fine. It's now the 16th. So it's been another 2 weeks. That's no problem. 2 weeks is normal, really, I think, from England. So my point is, I put the order in on the 6th of April. When it rolled around to the 6th of May, I felt, okay, it's been a month. And then another week, I still haven't received it. So I don't know. It's out there somewhere. What do you call it? Customs might have put it in some kind of quarantine, for a couple of weeks extra, so it won't contaminate anybody or something. I don't know. So I'm sure it's not Victrix's fault. I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that their employees were all at home. They couldn't just, I'm sure that with the pandemic, everybody's at home. Everybody has time to put their models together and paint them. So they probably got a ton of orders in. So that slowed them down. And then customs, both ends maybe, I don't know. England might have had a customs lockdown or something, and then now the U.S. might have a customs or something. I don't know. So when those come in, I'll work on those, mostly the Hypaspis probably. But then I put another order in just recently to get some Germans and some Gallic cavalry, light Macedonian, light Greek actually, which has got some Thessalians or whatever in it. But I got a ton of Germans. It's like the bag has 60 models. That's pretty good. 60 models for $40 I thought was pretty awesome. And then I said, well, if I'm going to do the Germans and I'm going to prepare for that Caesar in Gaul and Caesar in Germany campaign book, I figured if I was going to do that campaign, I got to have enough Romans. So I have 2 more boxes of Warlord Romans coming in. Those are 24 figures each. So those are 2 units each, right? So that's 4, we'll call them warbands, 4 units plus one of those units, that's 1 division. So then I've got 2 more units over there. That's not, so how many more units do I need? I need 8 more units to make out the divisions, not counting the skirmishers and the auxiliaries and stuff. So sorry this video is going on a while, but I'm basically getting caught up on my projects. So I looked at what Victrix had for Romans. They don't have Caesarian Romans. They have Republican Romans, which they're calling them late Republican. So they're right on the edge of being Republican to being Caesarian, because Caesarian is really Republican, just put into a legionary format. Instead of being Principes, Hastati, and Triarii, they are uniformed as legionaries. But I looked at the packaging, or looked at the figures in each of the bags for the late Republicans, which I wanted to do Republicans anyway. Republican Rome intrigues me with the maniples, and you got the Principe and the Hastati, and then you got the Triarii and the Velites, and that's always intrigued me. And then the Carthaginians and Samnites and Iberians, and that whole Hannibal and all that seemed like I would prefer to have done that army. But since I got a bunch of Caesarians already, so what I'm doing is I'm going to build a division of Caesarians and then 2 divisions of, or maybe 3 divisions of Republican Romes, or the early Republic, because Victrix has 2 boxes. They've got box 1 and box 2. One of the boxes has their Principes and Hastati in chainmail, and the other box has the Principes and Hastati in pictorial plates, which are these square plates, which that's really cool, but it doesn't blend well with the Caesarians. So I went ahead and got the box that had the Hastati and the Principe in the chainmail, and it comes with Velites, which I'm going to use as Velites for the Republican Rome battles that I might do, or just as auxiliary javelinmen or javelin skirmishers for the Caesarians. But because you can't buy a box or a bag of just one or the other, they come as a sprue, or a couple of different types of sprues, but the Velites and all the chainmails are all on the same sprue, so no matter what, you're getting a little bit of everything. And I said, okay, that's okay. But how many guys in chainmail do you get? 36. I was like, whoa, that's 3 units. So if I got 3 of these bags, that would be 9 units, which is super close to 2 divisions. And I looked over here and I said, I have 1, 2, 3, and I've already got 2 Roman boxes. I'm going to have like 11 units. So, not 11, I'm going to have 16 units. And that's where I need to be. And so, there we go. So I got a bunch of Roman, so just FYI, I've got Greeks coming in, Macedonians coming in, I got Germans, Gaelic, Republican Romans, Thebians, Athenians in the Greeks, Peltas, I got Greek archers and Greek slingers and javelin men. I have some Roman. Oh, I also have some leaders. I have the Gallic leaders probably in this box right there with Vercingetorix and a couple of the other ones, generics, I think. And then I've got the Roman leaders. I've got Caesar, Pompey, Pulo, Varenus, which I need to put those together and just put them in those units. Pulo, Varenus, Cassius, Pompey, Anthony, and Caesar. So I got a ton of Roman generals, and then under the generals that came with the successor starter army with Philip and Alexander. So I've got them, and then I got a couple of generic Germans and Gauls and a Roman guy right there, which I guess, I don't know. He's a general, but I might put him in a unit just to fill out figures. And because of the pandemic, being locked up, I've only been working like 2 days a week. I've been working all day, 2 days a week. That's left me with 5 days a week that I'm not leaving the house. I'm not going and doing anything. I'm not traveling or going to any like SCA events or conventions or anything. So I've been locked into the house, painting and assembling and thinking and shopping. And so I also was on eBay, sold a bunch of my figures. Now looking back on it, I almost regret it. But I made a killing on the figures, and that's what's given me the opportunity to do this, is the fact that I made a bunch on eBay. Okay, so I also bought some new brushes. You can't see them, they're in this box. But these are fine detail brushes by a company called Airbrush Tower. Never heard of them before. I saw them on Amazon, and I said, you know what? I'm going to order them and see if they're any good. And they seem to be pretty good. I'm going to use them and tell you. But they come all the way from 3 all the way down to 3.0. So, and the 3.0s are just like my 10.0s over there. So they're really good. I've looked at the tips. I felt the tips. They seem like they're really good. We're going to find out. 8 brushes, something like that, for $9. I thought, they can't be any good, but we're going to try it. Then I bought another 8 brushes right here. I went online specifically looking for a type of brush that I've been using painting all of these figures. And it's starting to wear out because I've painted over 200 figures with it, with one brush. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go maybe buy another one of these brushes. Well, everywhere I look, it's like $10 for one brush. And I was like, no way, I ain't paying that. I found this set. I think it was around $10 as well. And this is from a company called Pro Art with an E, RT. Pro Arte. Okay, so I'm sure it's a mistranslation, but I'm going to try these brushes as well. I'm not sure if they're as good as those brushes, but we're going to figure it out. I'm going to try it out, and I'll let you guys know. And that's really everything that's going on, and I think I went on here way too long for my Hail Caesar. I'm super excited about this. I mean, it looks and feels great. I'm excited about all the work I've done. I've got a ton of Little Big Men decals coming in for all these figures. I've fallen in love with Little Big Men figures, decals, because they are peel, stick, add some water, take the paper off, done. And that's the decals that are on these. These are all these British Gaelic shield decals. All of them have the Little Big Men. All my new Macedonians of Little Big Men, those were the old not GW, the old Warlord Games, WG, I guess. I'm waiting for the decals for my Greeks because all their arms are separate, and the Germans didn't have any decals. They're primary colors with wooden shields. Okay, so that is my Hail Caesar SPQR Ancients update. Now I'm thinking about doing a channel update coming up real soon. That will incorporate some of this, but it's also going to talk about my videos that I'm doing. It's also going to talk about some of my fantasy models that I'm doing, and maybe some things like that. I've got some Blitzkrieg German infantry over there from Warlord. I pretty much sold all my bolt action stuff. I've gotten rid of all my bolt action stuff. Bolt action was just getting to the point where it was reminding me of War Thunder. And War Thunder, I've lost interest in War Thunder because of the modernization of the game. They've gone into the Korean War. Bolt action just went into the Korean War. I don't want to do that. I wanted to stay World War II. And they have so many different things added on, and it's just too much of a tournament game and less of a historical miniature game. You know what I'm saying? So either way, so I got rid of bolt action. I love bolt action. The game is cool, and if you can get some scenarios or make some scenarios, it's really a good game. But I sold everything, and that part of that money, or all of that money, is used also to get some ancients. Okay, my point is, I just bought some German Blitzkrieg infantry. Not for me. That's not why I bought them. I'm going to take a day or two, probably this coming week. I'm going to take a day or two, sit down, hands on my hips, pull out a stopwatch, and go start. And then I am going to assemble the Germans. I'm going to prime them. I'm going to paint them. I'm going to flock them. I'm going to stop the stopwatch. If there's any dry time, like if I wash something and I just sit down and let it sit for an hour or two, the stopwatch will be stopped. If I prime something and I'm waiting for the primer to dry, stopwatch will be stopped. Anything where I'm not actively doing something, the clock will be stopped. So I want to see if I can assemble the Germans in maybe 2 hours, because there's only like 30 of them, you know. So, and I'm not going to do anything special. I'm just going to put them all together, right? And then I'm going to prime them. That's probably going to be another hour because of dry time. right? I'm just guessing in my head. And then I'm going to go back and paint them. I'm going to say 30 models I'm going to have painted in probably 5 hours. Yep, I said it. Not counting dry time. Just painting. Because I'm going to paint probably about 10 colors on the model. This is me doing math. I'm going to do flesh wash, jackets, pants, webbing, canisters, rifle, the metal on the rifle, helmets, boots, something like that. Then I'm going to do probably a strong tone or a soft tone wash over the entire thing. Okay, so far we're looking at about 8 hours. Then I'm going to flock them with gravel, just like I normally do for my own models. I'm going to flock them with gravel, and then I'm going to flock them with flock, and that's probably going to be another 2 hours. Maybe, okay, so we're going to say, I'm guessing, 10 hours later of actual work time, these models will be done. Now we're going to divide that, because I'm selling them specifically as 10-man units. So I need to take the time and divide by 3, because there's going to be 3 units in that box. So hypothetically, if it takes 12 hours, it really only took 4 hours for every 10 guys, approximately. I'm going to take those 4 hours, multiply them by probably $5. It's cheap. So like $20 maybe, plus the cost of 10 of the models, another $10. So for $30, I'm going to sell them on eBay. If I can do that, then my painting is worth $5 an hour. That's one unit. Now the next unit I'm going to put for $10 an hour. And if it sells, then my painting is worth $10 an hour. And the next one I'm going to put for $15 an hour. And we'll see if, I think $15 an hour is probably too high. $10 an hour I would be happy with. Right? I think I'm content, because this is something that I've been thinking about. I work somewhere, and I have to get up, I have to drive in and drive home. That's an hour. Big deal, right? Then I work my ass off making money. Then I come home, whatever. And then, so if I was able to transition away from an employer to self-employed, then that's something I would strongly consider. And you can see that I paint like crazy. And if you've ever watched any of my videos, I've come to the conclusion. If you remember when I did my Germans last year, maybe it was year before last. It probably was year before last. When I did my Germans, I did like 200 models in 1 week. They were all the same. They were all flesh, pants, shirts, weapons. But it took me like all day to do one color, because I would do flesh. Whew, man, I'm doing 200 models. But they were all flesh. They were done. I said, okay, I'm done with it. Let's go to the next day. Next day, pants. Okay, done, right? And then I sold them, made a killing. Both action models, World War II models, are easy to paint. I found they're easy to paint. Ancients are fairly easy to paint. Napoleonic models may be a little bit harder to paint. They got some crazy color patterns and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, this is the next subject. Sorry, you guys. I apologize for keeping you here this long. If you can't watch this whole video, go ahead and cut it off halfway and then come back to it later. I appreciate that. This update, there's I thought about this. Remember, I'm talking about all these different armies? I'm painting Germans and Gaul, Romans, Macedonians, Greeks. I'm thinking about doing Spartans. I got Athenians. I got Dacians. You know, I'm probably eventually going to get some Persians to fight against Alex, right? And then I'm going to probably get some British. So I'm probably going to get some chariots and stuff. Whatever. So you see that I've got a ton of different armies here. Something clicked in my head tonight. I painted last year a bunch of American War of Independence, right? You probably saw me paint some Massachusetts, some Delaware, some Rhode Island, some New Yorkers, some who knows what, right? So I painted a ton of different units from different militia and, some Pennsylvania riflemen. I painted probably, let me think, just British, right? Just the British. I had at least 12, if not 15 different units painted, plus the cavalry, plus all the gun carriages and wagons and everything else. Okay, so I painted those units had 16 to 24 figures in each unit. So we're looking at a hell of a lot of models for the British. And then the Americans is really what I'm talking about, because the Americans had way more figures, 5 times as many figures. I had the New Yorkers, Rhode Island, Delaware, Maryland. You know, I had a ton of different units. But you know what the trick is there? That was all one army. And I thought about it. I was like, that was a fuck ton of models that I still own, because I'm not getting rid of them. But that was only one army. I'm going to paint about the same amount of models, and I'm going to have 10 different armies. So I'm totally okay with this. I had this entire shelf completely covered, base to base. 40 millimeter bases, by the way, not 2-inch bases. Completely covered with Americans and British. Right now I've got probably one shelf, and it's loose. It's there's nothing there. Okay, so I'm going to have a bunch of different armies, but they're going to be one division armies, but I can put multiple divisions from different armies together to make a stronger army. Like the Romans, I'm going to have 2 divisions of Republicans and 1 division of Caesarians. And then the Germans, I'm going to have a division of 5 units. And then the Gauls, I'm going to have a division of 5 units. And then the English, or the Brits, are going to have a division of 5 units. Macedonians, I'm going to have, well, right now I think I've got 6. I got 7 units of Macedonians right now. Part of that first order was command elements for 4 of those. And then the Greeks, I'm going to have 3 divisions, but they're all going to be small, and they're going to be from separate armies. That's cool. And the Persians and the Macedonians used Greek mercenaries, so I'll be able to have Greek mercenaries for those armies. I'm just excited. I'm super excited. Now I'm also going to take my SPQR book, and I'm going to break down each of the armies that I'm doing with stats, like why this is a better choice over this, and why this works better than this. Why I've decided not to use these because they're not that good compared to these guys. Or the points don't add up. Stuff like that. Plus there's some house rules that I might have to tell you guys about. I'm looking forward to playing some battles between the Greek phalanxes. I'm excited to play some battles with Alexander against the Greeks, or Alexander against the Romans, or even Alexander against some barbarians, because there were some barbarian Celtic or Germanic barbarians, Germanic warbands that came down into Macedonia or something like that. And then I want all the little side countries too, like Thessaly and Illyria, and then I want to get the Carthaginians, because I'm going to be using the Republican Rome, and Republican, Scipio and all those guys go down and fight in Carthage. So I got to have some Numidians, and I got to have some Carthaginians, and I want to have also the Spanish Celtic Iberians. I got to have those guys. It's never ending. But the African wars are going to have to hold off. I'm going to wait on that. I'm working on my Upper Peninsula, the German, Britain, France, where Caesar went up there, and then also earlier than that, the Macedonians and the Greeks. I'm going to do them. Those are the 2 that I'm focusing on. But eventually, I am going to circle back around and get some Carthaginians. All right, guys. Sorry that took forever, and I'm sure I forgot something that I'm working on or planning on doing or something like that. So if I remember, I'll let you know, and stay tuned. Hey, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to hit the notification icon. And remember, on the notification icon, I believe it gives you an option to decide how or what kind of content you want to receive notifications for. If you say all, then you get all my videos. I do still have Gates of Antares models, and I haven't really touched them, right? They're just, I thought I was going to get into the sci-fi, and I really didn't. I still have them. I'm going to hold on to them for a little while, but I really got into this, the Ancients, once SPQR came out, or once I got a hold of SPQR. My mind just exploded. All right, I will catch you next time.